I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. I just wanted to encourage you all to watch some of my IG Live videos on Instagram. On Instagram, my accounts are at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. But in case I haven't told you, which it occurred to me that maybe I haven't, on Instagram, every day at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, I interview authors live from my at Zibby Owens account. And to watch it, you just have to open up Instagram. And if you're following me when I'm live, it'll show up on the upper left of your screen in the story section, and it'll say live, and there'll be a little red circle. So every day, Monday to Friday, I do an IG Live show. Check it out. I do 1 to 4 authors a week. Sometimes the shows become these podcasts. And I also do one on Sundays at 2 with my husband, Kyle. And we talk about step parenting and life and all the rest. So if you haven't watched an IG Live, please do. And also, I have a virtual book club that I hope you know about. This is all on my website, by the way, zibbyowens.com. But check out my virtual book club, which is through a site called Book Clubs with a Z, BOOKCLUBZ.com. And no, I didn't make that up after my name, but actually it just worked out perfectly. So go to bookclubs.com, and I'm actually the featured book club on their homepage. So you can just click and you're invited to sign up. I have amazing guests every week, and that meets Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time via Zoom. So please don't miss out on all these other offerings for all of you guys who are loyal listeners to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And always feel free to check out my website at zibbyowens.com to find out what I'm up to and what else you can do. Oh, and also sign up for my newsletter. In my newsletter every week, I give updates on the latest, the book recommendations, all my podcasts, all my IG Lives, my book club, and any other fun information, plus usually some list or article or something that I think would be helpful. So also sign up for my mailing list if you get a chance. Okay, that's enough for me. Now go listen to this episode. Today's episode has been sponsored by Stylist. I'd love to tell you more about Stylist because it's the newest and easiest way to shop via text. And to be honest, at first I was a little scared to try it, but once I did it, it's become like the most amazing thing ever. You literally take a picture of something and just text it. So I did it with a light bulb from the dining room that I have no idea what it was. And I took a picture of it and they figured it out. They searched it, they sent me the link to it, and then they sent me the whole item, all via text. So it's really fantastic. Membership is only $9.99 a month, $9.99. The first month is free. You can cancel at any time. When you sign up with my referral code ZIBBY, Z-I-B-B-Y, you get 1 free book. So to sign up, just text ZIBBY to this. These are numbers you're going to text. So get ready. 926-848. And text Zibby with a capital Z. Or you can sign up on their website, Stylust, STYLUST.com. And your first book can be free up to $50, which is so great. So go get yourself a free book and try out Stylist. My friend from business school, Melissa Bridgeford, is the one who founded this company, and I'm so thrilled to support her. And it's so nice that she's giving away $50 worth of a book for everybody. So I hope you love it, and I hope it saves you time because it's ended up sending me so much time now that I'm just clicking pictures of random snacks and then they show up at my door because they've helped me order it. So please try out Stylist. Again, it's text to number 926-848 and text Zibby, capital Z, or go to stylist.com and try it out and let me know what you think. I met Kristy Woodson Harvey at the East Hampton Library's Authors Night a whole year ago. And she came over to me and was so sweet and gave me her book and said she was a fan of my podcast. And that's just like music to my ears. So I read her book, and then now I've read her most recent book. And she is as adorable as she seems. And her book was really great and enjoyable and all the rest. So let me read you a little about her bio. And then I hope you enjoy our episode together that I feel like it's just so nice to have come full circle and now get to have her on my podcast. Kristy Woodson Harvey is the USA Today bestselling author of Feels Like Falling, The Southern Side of Paradise, The Secret to Southern Charm, Slightly South of Simple, Lies and Other Acts of Love, Dear Carolina, and Under the Southern Sky, which is her most recent book. Kristy is the winner of the Lucy Bramlett Patterson Award for Excellence in Creative Writing, a finalist for the Southern Book Prize, and her work has been optioned for film, and her books have received numerous awards. She also blogs with her mom, Beth Woodson, on Design Chic about how creating a beautiful home can be the catalyst for creating a beautiful life. Design Chic is an inaugural member of the Design Blogger Hall of Fame, sponsored by Traditional Home. Harvey is a Phi Beta Kappa summa cum laude graduate of University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill's School of Journalism and holds a master's in English from East Carolina University. And her writing has appeared in numerous publications and websites like Traditional Home, Our State, Today.com, The Washington Post, Marie Claire, and many others. She's a proud member of the Tall Poppy Writers and serves on the board of the Beaufort Historical Association and is a member of the University of North Carolina's Women's Leadership Council. She's a frequent speaker at fundraisers, book conferences, and private events, and she currently lives in North Carolina with her husband and son, where she's already working on her next novel. So enjoy my conversation with Kristy.
I certainly do. Hi.
Thank you for having me. Okay, I have to let y'all know right off the bat, I am sort of on the Camille train. I live on in North Carolina, like you just said. We're having a major thunderstorm. So if you hear anything crazy, we walked around the house and we're like, okay, what's quiet? So hopefully it won't be loud. And it's kind of dying down, but if you hear something crazy, that's probably what it is.
Okay. It's also a huge storm where I am, so we'll see what happens, Yeah. What is up? I mean, it's bad enough that it's a Monday morning in quarantine. Now we have to have like thunderstorms and
right. The only thing saving us is the good weather. I mean, what are we going to do?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know. Better Monday than Sunday. Who knows? Whatever. I guess it's nice. We had a nice day yesterday.
Yes. Yesterday was gorgeous. So this is kind of the payback, I guess.
And I feel like it's been 100 years since I met you last summer at Authors Night for the East Hampton Library. That was so nice. And you were like so radiant and like, oh my gosh, it was so nice to meet you. So
well, that's nice. Well, it was so fun. I was so excited to meet you. I was like fangirling really hard. You probably remember, but it was probably embarrassing. So sorry. But that was such a fun night. And I'm going back again. So I'm really excited to be there next August. So hopefully I'll see you again.
I hope that events are still going on in August. Do you think
I do too. I usually go on like a 6-week book tour when I have a new book come out. And this year, for some reason, some really smart person said, let's split it and we'll do 4 weeks in like April and May and then 2 weeks in August. So I'm hoping that we can at least salvage that August part. I mean, if we can't, we can't. But I love going on book tour. Like, it's just fun to get to go meet readers and cool people like you. So.
Well, I feel terrible for all you guys who can't go on your book tours. I mean, it's so sad to get to the finish line of a big project and not be able to sort of celebrate it and make sure it gets into the right hands. So
it's going to be so interesting, though, to just like do something completely different and like do things like this and see what happens. I mean, I feel the worst, I think, for people who are, this is their first book and they've been really just waiting to do this book tour. I feel terribly for them because that is so exciting. It's kind of like the culmination of all that hard work that you've done in all those years. And so that is really sad for them. And hopefully they'll be able to move theirs. But I'm just so grateful they're not moving my book release date because I was afraid that was going to happen or it was going to have to happen because we weren't going to, have books. But, putting out a book a year, I started thinking about that logistically. And I was like, well, first of all, this is not really a book that you want to come out in November. That's not an ideal time for the beach cover. But I started thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, well, if it comes out in November, we're already going to be starting promotion for Under the Southern Sky, which is my 2021 book. So people are going to be like, enough. We've had enough of you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that's like a pretty great problem to have is that you're creating so much good content that you can't even figure out how and when to promote it all, right?
That's good. It's great.
So have you already written? So is that your schedule? 1 book a year every summer? That's just like...
I mean, I'm not saying I'm married to that for the rest of my life or anything, but it's worked for me really well. Like we've just we're in the groove. That's how it's going. I kind of have my bearings with that situation a little bit. And actually it was, oh my gosh, I'm super grateful that I had a book to be working on because my edits were due like 2 or 3 days ago on Under the Southern Sky. And so it just gave me something. I was like, it's normal. I'm working. I just have to focus on the book. I can't think about, all the craziness going on and focus on, I mean, of course you're thinking about it and feeling terribly about it, but it gave me something to kind of, an outlet. So I wasn't like sitting there watching the news 12 hours a day and like all the terrible things going on. I was in my little writing cave for at least a few hours a day, kind of focusing. So
what are you going to do now that you've been freed from the cave?
Well, I mean, so the new book comes out April 28th and we are sort of scrambling to get this virtual tour put together because, it takes like 9 months to put these tours together. And so then to kind of turn around and put together, some semblance of a virtual tour, we will be working nonstop on that. And we didn't want to do it too early because, like I said, we didn't know if we were going to have books. So I have heard now that the books have shipped to the distributors. So, and at the very least, I mean, I know you feel this way, and so do I. I'm a huge proponent of independent bookstores. I love them. They are so amazing. And, I hope that this is a time when people will, choose to support them. And, we're bored, we're at home, go buy a book.
Yeah.
Pick it up at the curbside, have them deliver it to your house. I mean, they're getting really creative. It's impressive.
That's true. Yeah. I went on this walk yesterday, which is the first time I've walked into the town nearby. It was out of desperation. Anyway, there was one little store that I never really go into, but there was a sign on the door and it says, if you really need a cozy sweater, call this number and we'll drop one off for you. And I was I could use another cozy sweater. I've worn this one 100 times. I know. So I think I might have to call. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what turns up. Anyway, back to you and your book and all of this greatness. So can you hold it up again and can you explain the plot and what it's about? Because the plot is so great for this book and it sounds so good. Yeah.
Thank you. So Feels Like Falling is a book about Gray and Diana, who are two women from very different worlds who sort of come together to form this odd couple friendship. They meet on a day when they're both having a really, really bad day. Those days where it's just nothing's going right. And so Gray is at a point in her life where she could really use some good karma. And Diana's at a point in her life where she could really use some good luck. And instead, Gray inadvertently gets Diana fired from her job. So it sort of thrusts these two women together that on the surface seem to have nothing in common. Sorry, that was a thunderstorm shutter blow.
But, oh my gosh.
But in reality, they have so much in common. They've both lost their mothers, albeit in very different ways. They're both dealing with the loss of a partner, although, again, in different ways. And they're both sort of at a crossroads in their career, which is, a major situation in both of their lives. And neither of them know it, but they're both about to embark on a really great love story, too. So that's always one of my favorite parts. But there are a lot of, issues that come up in this book. There are a lot of things that these women are dealing with that real women are dealing with. But I think it's my funniest book. I hope. I tried to make it. I felt like when I was really going through the process of writing this, we were out of our house from Hurricane Florence, and I was like, I just need some comic relief in my life. And so I sort of feel like it was this omen of, okay, we're also going to really be needing some comic relief in our life when this book comes out. So I'm happy for that because I do think it's a funny book. I think people can really escape into this book. It's set in the fictional town of Cape Carolina, which is based on Morehead City, which is near where I live. So you get to see that, it's one of those fun, beachy locales. And these women are just great. They sort of worm their way into my heart, and I hope that they will for readers too.
That's so great. So you wrote it during a hurricane, and now it's coming out during a pandemic. I mean, what are the odds?
Am I bad luck? What's going on? I know. It's so strange. But actually, the really funny thing about this book that makes it sort of unusual and different from my other books is that I wrote it in 2016, and it's actually coming out now. So I wrote this book. I got contracted for the Peachtree Bluff series. So I wrote all 3 of those books. They came out. And then I spent, 8 or 9 months completely tearing Feels Like Falling apart and putting it back together. It was such a cool exercise because I had changed so much in 4 years. The world had changed so much in 4 years. And the way that I felt about these women and what they would be doing and how they would be handling these situations in their lives had completely changed. So that was so interesting for me. I try not to go back and read my earlier books just because it kind of makes you cringe a little, I feel like, because you hope that you've grown from book to book and you're like, oh, why did I say that? Or why did that character say that? Or why did they do that? So it was sort of this great opportunity to get to go back and totally rewrite this book for where we are today. So I think it's good timing. I really do. I feel like it all worked out the way it was supposed to. And I'm glad this book is coming out now and that it didn't come out in 2016 when I wrote it.
Wow. And what about your next book, the one you were just talking about having finished?
Okay, so Under the Southern Sky comes out 2021. We don't have a pub date yet. I think April-ish. But I'm really excited about this book. It's actually a book that I've been thinking about for 5 or 6 years. And I don't know, I haven't really talked about it much, so I don't even really know how to tell you about it. But essentially, the protagonist of the story is a man. This is my first male protagonist. I have 4 female protagonists also. But Parker is kind of the center of this book, and his wife has passed away 3 years earlier. And when the book is sort of opening, a childhood friend of his, who is also a protagonist of this book, has sort of accidentally discovered that these embryos that he's frozen with his dead wife are about to be destroyed because they haven't been able to get in touch with him. So it sort of like bursts the story wide open about, what do? You have this piece of this person who's gone, and, what's the next right step? So there are, of course, a lot of other storylines going on, but that's the main one.
Ooh. Wow. Well, that sounds really good. Do you just have is it hard for you to come up with ideas, or do you just have a ton, or do you keep a notebook, or what's your process like?
So I have a ton. I keep separate Word documents on my computer, and just whenever I have something kind of interesting that comes up, I'll pop it in a Word document. But usually I don't know where a story's going to go. And even with this one, a friend came to me and said, I have these embryos. What am I supposed to do with them now? And I just sort of jotted that down, but I didn't know what the story was until I actually sat down and started writing and thought, okay, who are these characters? What are they like? What's happening to them? And even in Feels Like Falling, I remember finishing this story, and my husband was at a work conference, and I had gone with him so I could just finish this book and be done. And I met him downstairs for dinner, and I was like, that ended the exact opposite way that I thought it was going to. And he was like, you're the one writing it. What do you mean? But it is just so cool how the characters, they just take over the story and they really come to life. And I'm a person, I like to read character-driven stories, and I like to write character-driven stories. So I do think that's a big part of that the plot is important, but it's not usually what's on the forefront of my mind. But then narrowing it down and trying to figure out, okay, what is capturing me next? What is it that won't let me go, that won't let me, sleep at night because I'm so excited about writing it? And that's usually where I go next. And a lot of times I end up sticking a couple stories together at some point, and one idea, isn't the best one. And so that kind of combines with another one, and then it's the right thing. So it's a really interesting process.
Having written all of these books, do you have any advice for aspiring authors? I feel like you've turned this into a system, and you have it down.
Yeah. And I do think that is, when I tell authors, new authors or aspiring authors, it's a business and you have to treat it as such. And I feel like the creative part of it is what lights us up and keeps us coming back to it. But the business part of it is what allows us to actually be able to do this as a career. And so I am, very systematic about, writing my 2,000 words a day. It's the first thing that happens, because if I don't have a new book to put out, I don't have a job anymore. So that's sort of the most important thing for me. And I'm not saying that everyone has to do that. It's, whatever schedule works for you. But I think, treating it like, something real that is really going to happen. And you are the queen of talking about this, but, finding the time is so difficult. And people tell me all the time, I don't have time. And I'm like, I get it. I wrote Dear Carolina. I had a 2-week-old baby when I got the idea for that book. And I would sit in my closet at night while I was breastfeeding and jot down Dear Carolina. That's how Dear Carolina came to life. So there was no I went on this 6-week retreat to Italy and wrote this beautiful, no, oh my gosh, no, books are being written in the midst of dirty diapers and, homeschooling now. So I think it's just like everything else, and just got to get it done, right?
Got it. Aw. Well, Kristy, thank you so much for coming on. And it's so nice to finally get to chat with you. And I hope the storm there passes. And thanks for giving us great things to look forward to reading.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Oh, it was great chatting.
Thanks again for listening to my podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. If you liked this episode, please follow me on Instagram @ZibbyOwens and @Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, and sign up for my mailing list at zibbyowens.com so you can always hear about the latest things I'm up to. Thanks a lot. Today's episode has been sponsored by Stylist. Please try out Stylist. Again, it's text to number 926-848 and text Zibby, capital Z, or go to stylist.com and try it out and let me know what you think. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music. Thanks for listening. You could always email me at zibby@zibbyowens.com.